Yeah.
Thank you.
Really all up here.
Oh, yeah.
Right, those are parts, right?
So-
You have to like start kicking.
Who has any questions? Raise your hand. All right, you and you. 2, 3 whole walking clips.
All right, who's picking the questions for us?
4.
Hi, is there any way we can get the movies by any chance? Because I quite enjoyed what you had on display here.
Well, my movie is available on my website. It's an 11 website, but I can give that to you if you want to watch my film.
Thank you.
I think Free Bob is on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I got everything on YouTube, so literally just Google Freak Bob short film, find that on YouTube. I also have a feature film for free on YouTube I did 2 years ago, Ivan IRL, if you also want to check that out.
Yeah, mine will be on YouTube in the next couple of weeks. I'm fully premiering it on New Year's.
Thank you.
Mine is on YouTube as well. Yeah. Hard to find, but I believe in you.
Question for Mr. Freak Bob, Mr. Justin Guerrieri. I wanted to ask about the locations that you got, specifically like the weird underground, like liminal spaces, and just in your abandoned, ruined places, because I feel like those are locations in hot demand. People are aching to get those and film their own Freak Bobs there. So
Great question.
Joe Palea Park also, by the way.
What was that?
Did you shoot in Joe Palea Park as well?
Who are you talking to?
You, dude.
I don't know, what park did you say it was?
So it looked like when we were in the park with the pizza guy. Was that Joe Palea Park?
If I'm being honest, I don't know what park that was at. It was right by the water though. It was somewhere near Old Bridge.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's by there. Well, it's somewhere by there. I don't know, I kind of found that spot by
I think I
accident.
know the part you're talking about. That's literally next to my house. As I was watching that, I was like, I live right next to it.
That's awesome, that's crazy. Yeah, I was all over the place filming this. I had the same question for your movie too, Justin.
Yeah. So, well, why don't you go first?
Yeah,
Tell us where
I'll
you
start.
found the abandoned little hole and everything
Yeah.
in there. So,
That's the spot.
and were you scared
Yeah.
when you were in there filming? So
Yeah. So I'll start off by saying before I was really even getting into a lot of the short film stuff, I love finding cool spots in New Jersey. I'm super into the urban exploring kind of stuff. Probably going into some spots that I shouldn't be. But I feel like for filmmaking, that can really it can really help out your shooting. Because maybe you don't know a lot about the technical stuff or a lot about maybe not even your story so much. But if sometimes you get to a location and you just you start to all kind of come together. So I had a lot of these spots kind of up my sleeve already. I've been collecting for a little bit. The spot that was in where it looks like I kind of go into the sewers, sometimes I can keep a little bit, you gotta keep these spots on the down low, but Sandy Hook has a lot of really cool bunkers, and that's where we shot that. So even though it looks like I go into some kind of sewer system, that was somewhere in Wall Township, and then everything where I'm actually walking around in the bunkers, that was in Sandy Hook. So
Yeah, that was my second guess.
Yeah.
So I've tried to shoot there before when I was around your age, and we got kicked out. Park rangers came by, so you have to be careful when you're at those locations, especially now. But it looked great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, to answer your question, it was all kind of North Jersey. So where we placed the actual shack was on a landfill in Kearney. And I actually had to get special permission to shoot there from the Meadowlands Commission. And they gave me some kind of student rate. I made this when I was a senior at Montclair State, so it was like $300 for the day. But everywhere else, I pulled a crate. It was all guerrilla filmmaking. We just popped out of our car and we just shot. And right in the beginning, that place with the abandoned warehouses was just like a weird part of Newark that I just happened to find. What I was doing was looking at Google Maps, and I was looking at abandoned railroads and things within a 15-mile radius from Montclair, and I was going there and scouting them. And the landfill was one of the areas that I found on Google Maps, and I just went there and scouted it, and it worked out. Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
I didn't see you.
I noticed a number of these films had close-up shots.
Do you guys find that it's difficult to get sort of POV close-up shots when you're using like a bigger, heavier camera? How do you navigate with the equipment in tight spaces?
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
This way.
I can start. Well, we shot my film with a Sony FX3. It wasn't as hard to navigate movement with that camera as much, but we had gimbal, and I think it just depends on prep on like exactly what kind of equipment. If you make films with your friends, you gotta kind of put everything out there and just go, this is what we got, and these are the shots that we can do. And you try to, we had our cinematographer try to keep it stable as much as he can. So you just gotta have a good grip, I guess.
I would say I have a pretty similar answer. I have a Sony FX30, which is like physically pretty much it's the same size as that camera. I never really built out a big camera rig or anything. I also have like a pretty light setup. It's literally just the camera, the lens, and for a lot of the close-ups, I'm using like a wide-angle lens, so it's not a giant zoom lens. So yeah, honestly, it wasn't really that much of an issue because I didn't have that big of a build of a camera. I think I prefer to kind of have a lighter build because I like the kind of guerrilla, I like being able to move around, put the camera in weird spots. I prefer that over having like a crazy giant build of a camera.
Yeah, so there's no like one single way to do a close-up. You know, like with your cameras, you shoot a lot on like GoPros and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? There's like a lot of really wide shots in FreakBob. And so when you have like a wider lens, sometimes you can get a lot closer. But in my film, we shot everything on like a fixed lens camcorder, you know? So I think we actually pushed my actor just a couple feet back, and then we focused as close as we possibly could to get that shot. Sometimes you just have to do it that way. Other times, like close-up shots really are just using telephoto lenses, and the camera's way farther back than you might think it is. So it's I've never really had trouble with that, but there's a certain lens attachment called a diopter that sometimes people will use when they're in really tight spaces to be able to focus closer.
So I'll tell you this, I was on set a few weekends ago with a really good director of photography, and he was trying to frame up close-ups, right, with a certain lens. But there's a certain distance where the lens can't get focus when you're too close. And so, yeah, we would bring in that diopter, and it would enable that camera, the lens, to get in focus. So it was really cool because the DP didn't have to sacrifice his vision and move the camera back, right? We just used that tool to get what he had in his head.
Thank you.
Yeah, I initially had this question while watching FreakBob, but I guess it could honestly apply to all 4 films. Tone is something that I felt like was interesting how you guys chose to juggle it, like especially with the comedic aspect of FreakBob in general, and then throughout the rest of the film there was like a lot of pause in between where it was often comedic. And then how do you go about measuring how much is too much and then going back and forth?
I guess I'll start off with that one. I feel like it's just for me, it's just such a personality thing. I feel like even if I want to tell kind of like an emotional story or have something with like a deeper undertone to it, it's who I am as a person. I can't do it without making it at least a little bit funny. Also, I feel like I love tone switches. I love when you're watching something and you think it's one thing and then it turns into something completely different. Those are some of my kind of favorite movies where you just like, where you think you know what you're watching and then it kind of flips on you. So I would say for me, it's kind of just like a personality thing for me.
For my film, I think tone we knew exactly what we wanted to do in the beginning, in the writing stage of the project. There wasn't as much problem trying to jump between genres on our film. We just really wanted to kind of give an experience of what it's like to be in the dark side, like Hollywood, at least what we think. A lot of the inspiration that I made a lot of people watch was like David Lynch films, like Mulholland Drive and stuff. So we wanted it to be dark, and we just liked that aspect. In the script, there's some dialogues in there that's kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie. Even when I was there, I was just laughing. But it is, for me, it just depends on the color and all the choices you make in the beginning before shooting.
I think that film of mine fairly stays consistent in tone. I think like the largest tone break is when he starts the phone call. I can see that registering as funny, but as far as maintaining the theme goes, I think I tend to have an instinct to approach my films in like a sort of documentarian sort of view. Watching that film now, I wish it were longer. You know, I think real life is so beautiful, and like some moments in your just day-to-day life are like so inherently dramatic that sometimes watching things play out in real time for me, it can feel so like dragged out in a film, and it can feel so heavy when really it's just raw. You know, and I think that's what drives how I build my tone a lot and how I approach seriousness in my films.
Well, I think the tone kind of shifts with my character. So the film's based around him and his personality. And so you kind of move along with what he's feeling, right? He's trying to cope. If you didn't get this, he thinks, he's the last person on Earth, or at least in the area he's in. So he's just trying to cope. And so, yeah, it's a little happy at first and whatever, but it's, for me, that character arc that gives you a story that's interesting to watch. We like watching people, and we like watching them change. And so, he goes from happy, to the best of his ability, to pretty, upset with the current condition. He's running out of food, whatever. And then, accidentally, and there's a metaphor there where he kills the kid, and he's a kid himself. So, yeah.
So just seeing like the scope of the different films, like you were saying, Justin, with like the sort of like guerrilla, like run and gun type of shooting versus like the bigger productions from like the art. That's being, I'm very curious to know like how long it was from like your sort of like pre-production phase all the way to wrap, like what the time frame for each of these films was.
I'll start with this. Is that all right? Can I start with this one? So I filmed this in 2013 as my senior thesis at school after I graduated from here. And I had a cut that I presented to class for a grade, and then I didn't finish it until 2016 because I was a perfectionist and I had to do quite a lot of other things, make sound effects, some ADR if you know what that is. But the actual filming or the pre-production was about 2 months. And back in school, everybody here who's a filmmaker or a student filmmaker, these movies you make, you're doing it on your own. You're producing it, you're directing it, you're doing production design, you're doing everything. So it took me about 2 months and then 6 days of filming. And then after I filmed, I completely shut down and just started playing video games. It was so much work. And then it turns out I didn't really have a great cut for the end of the semester, but that's fine. I finished it later, and I'm proud of it today. So yeah, 6 days of shooting.
I think mine is definitely on the smaller side as far as production goes. So for context, this film, like my film, was made in 2023. I think it was, for the Brookdale Film Club, and it was part of a 48-hour film project that I helped organize as the president at the time. And so with a couple of my friends' help, it was me, Dylan, Ben, and my friend Kai doing the lights. I think we started filming at like 6 o'clock one night, and then everyone went home by 10 or 11. Naomi slept at my house, and then I think I finished editing at like 4 in the morning. And then that was the first cut of the movie. This cut took me like a couple of months, but as far as pre-production goes, I pretty much wrote it, I think, the week before. And then at home, I just moved some furniture around in my spare time, hung up a couple pictures, and that was more or less the extent of like the physical pre-production, because I knew it was going to be such a quick shoot. I storyboarded and I had the script, and we pretty much just ran with it, and it went really, really well.
So I definitely have a pretty unique answer for this. So like I kind of mentioned when I introduced the film, my whole idea was inspired by like an internet meme. And that was during I think it was October of 2024. So naturally, when that was happening, you know how fast the internet moves from things. I was like, oh, I gotta make this right now before everyone forgets about this meme and no one's gonna care anymore. So I tried to make the script as quick as possible. I was really trying, but by the time I really wanted to shoot it, it was maybe like mid-November, and I knew I really wanted those like nice fall leaves. I wanted it to be like a very colorful movie. So by the time I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, I was like, no, I feel like the meme is dead now. Like no one's good. It's too cold out there. Like it's just not time to make it. So I actually waited another full year until the next fall to make it, and I'm really happy I did. And I think this is something I want to use for a lot of my future films or ideas. The idea of having an idea and just kind of letting it marinate a little bit, giving it some time, and if you still really like the idea and think it's something special, even after a full year or however many months, then go for it. A lot of times you'll have an idea and you think it's really good, and then you wake up the next morning and you're like, what was I thinking, you know? But yeah, so I was a year between pre-production and actual production, and the story changed a lot between them. But in terms of production, as I'm sure every filmmaker here can kind of agree with, I'm also very much a perfectionist. And I knew if I didn't give myself a deadline for the movie, I was never gonna finish it, especially when you're doing everything yourself. I gotta try to learn how to color grade, I gotta try to learn how to sound design. There's just so much that you could try to perfect and get better at. But instead what I did is I started shooting mid-October. I got frosted tips for my hair as part of the movie, and I'm like, all right, if we're dyeing my hair, I'm in it now. There's no going back from that. And I gave myself a Halloween deadline. No matter what the film looked like by Halloween, I was gonna get it up on YouTube, and that ended up working really great for me. You know, I only ended up with 2.5 days of editing, so that was a crazy 2 days, but I think giving yourself a deadline can really help if you're like any kind of creative, I think. So yeah, that's my story.
I think I said that we first came up with the idea around March when I first met my co-director Nolan Jones. I think after that we just decided to go full steam ahead, and we went to New York to start location scouting. We put a whole team together, a lot of the friends, we had a lot of producers, and just to finding the actors was one of the craziest things, because it was so hard to find like the right characters for the story. So it's like, I remember when I was sleeping one time, and no one would wake me up in his job, and he would just call me up. He was like, yo, I found a guy that looks exactly like the director. He's super old, you gotta meet him, you would just go up to like random people, and you would be like, this guy is great. I remember we were in a coffee shop once, and we were meeting the girl that plays the director in that film's assistant. And we were meeting her, and right like in a distance from her is this other guy who was just having a normal breakfast. And no one was like, yo, we should go talk to him. And we just he literally came up and we gave him cards, like, I think you have a face of an actor. So we're gonna be in the movie. He took our card, he probably told his family he's gonna be in the movie. And then we were like, you know what, he's not good enough. So we just kept on trying to find other people. I remember we replaced actors and just DM'd a lot of people to be a part of this. But also, another thing, when we were raising money, we was so wild because we were coming up with ideas of how to just like advertise the movie. And in the earlier drafts of the script, we had this guy who was supposed to be like a mascot for the film, with like a whole red mask and everything. So what we decided is to use that to kind of advertise. So we had a bunch of people, about 10 of our friends dress up in masks and go to Times Square and literally just go around people with cards and stuff, and just like, we filmed this whole thing. I remember we had people running away in the subway. And it was, it was crazy because we literally just started dancing in Times Square, and we filmed the whole thing like a part of the documentary. But the whole production thing I think took like 2 weeks to do, just due to the multiple locations. And thanks to Justin, we were able to shoot in Brookdale for that last rehearsals at location part. So it was a trip, and to pre-production, I would say we had a premiere for this movie around, I would say like March. So we were editing this movie right before premiere. I think we were rendering it in Bellworks right over there, and right after we finished, we literally just ran to the premiere. And I remember I told Nolan this. I was like, this movie is just not done with us. Like this movie, if this movie was a person, he would like punch us in the face and take on us. So, but it was a long time, but I'm glad that we're done with that. So, yeah.
I have a dirty question for Jay and Mr. Alam. 4x3. Why did you choose to shoot in? You shot in multiple aspect ratios for your film, and you shot what seems like 4x3 resolution.
Mine is a mix, in case you didn't notice. It's 4x3 when he's inside, and all the exterior shots are full 60x9.
Was there a creative reason for that, or?
Absolutely, it has to do with like my personal meaning for the film. I can tell you if you really want, but part of that has to do with the last shot. I think is the most important shot in the movie of the town, the overhead of the town. Has to do with the theme there. I'll leave it at that.
The thing is, I think the last decision we made during editing was to kind of make it in multiple aspect ratios, just due to the aspect that this is, we like jump in and out of him, the main character, actually shooting a movie, to just being in the real space. And I wanted to kind of constrain people with the 4x3 aspect ratio, and I want people to just feel this claustrophobia. But when the aspect ratio kind of changes into what I believe everybody sees as like cinematic filmmaking, it kind of gauges in their head that, okay, we're now watching a film, you know? So I kind of did it just so you could distinguish different parts of this film.
You did that before Sinners.
Yeah, exactly. Ron Coogler actually stole that from me.
Any other questions?
Sure. So, see if that's okay. I guess starting, I was really interested in one shot in Freak Bob during the underground sequence, the point of view shots of the flashlight. I was wondering, what was the setup for filming that? Because it seemed like the flashlight was perfectly aligned with the camera. And I guess, and then I guess the second part of that for everyone would be like, I guess, like how do you have like shots in your mind, like thought out, and like how are there times where you have something you want to do but you can't, you have to improvise, and how do you do that, I guess?
Okay, I love that question. This is still on. Does anyone know what like a snorri cam rig is? I'm sure the film people are familiar with that. Pretty much, that's the shot you were talking about, right? The camera's pointed at me and I'm walking through the tunnel.
Yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
point of view with the flashlight where it's like your point of view where the flashlight's like perfectly aligned with the camera.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the reverse shot of that. Okay, so that one, literally the rig, there really was no rig. It was the camera, and then what is it on the top of the shoe mount? That's what it's called. Yeah. I took the hot shoe out, so there was like a little metal gap on my camera. I pretty much just put there was no tape or anything. I just put the flashlight on top of the camera, and I just held it as tight as I could.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, exactly. That one didn't have a rig. The opposite. The shots that were going like opposite to that, where they were focused on me, that was a crazy setup. My friend Kylam over here was in those tunnels with me, helping me set up. It was like a tripod. I'm holding onto a tripod with one arm like this. It's pointed out this way, kind of like a selfie stick, but with more sticks, with with a giant reflector, like a giant white reflector, duct taped to the back of the camera. So when I shine the flashlight directly at the camera, the light would also bounce back into my face because you can actually see me. That's the stuff I love about filmmaking. I didn't know what I was doing the day before that, and I just had to come up with some way to get the shot I wanted. I love the DIY part of filmmaking. What was your other question? If you want to repeat it.
And I guess for everyone, because all of you had some pretty impressive shots, and I was just wondering, like, do you have those shots in your mind, like, before you film? And are there times where you want to do a certain type of shot, then it turns out you can't, you have to improvise? How do you approach that?
I would say before this movie, I'm a big fan of the kind of run and gun, go to a location, see what shots you want to get. That was kind of my style before, but this film was a big change for me where I knew I wanted the shots to actually be, as bad as it sounds, like I wanted them to have meaning, like, oh, why am I choosing this shot? Why am I doing a close-up? Why am I doing a wide shot here? So yeah, I definitely, maybe not every single shot, but there was storyboarding for, like, I would say the first full 2 minutes of the movie, and then after that, a lot of my shots were kind of location-based. But yeah, I like the creative DIY part of filmmaking, but I do think you got to know when to use a creative shot and when to just use a normal tripod shot. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of where I am on why I'm doing what shots and how the planning goes into that.
I can build off of that. Like, to echo your last sentiment, sometimes the cool shot isn't the right shot.
Yes.
It's not always the right shot. For this film, I always do pretty strict storyboards, and I think to do that effectively, at least in my experience, you have to have a really good sense of your locations that you're going to be shooting in. I shot this at my house, so I kind of had a very good idea of what I could and couldn't do there, so that worked very much in my favor. I was very thoughtful about the shots I chose here because I knew I had to kind of dance around the fact that this chandelier was a character, and so I wanted to shoot it in a way that felt voyeuristic at sometimes, and again had that documentarian sort of instinct, because I wanted you to feel like you're watching it through someone's eyes, but not quite watching it through that character's eyes. I wanted a ghostly presence, if you will. And like I mentioned about the aspect ratio, the interior versus exterior shots, aside from the color, very, very important to me in meaning and theme. So yeah, I always make a storyboard. If I had to go into a shoot with either a storyboard or a script, I would choose a storyboard.
Shot list, for sure. If you have a storyboard, that works too. But 100%, you should be going into whatever you're making with a shot list, no matter what, period. And the reason for that, it's a little bit different for Curry if he's running and gunning by himself. But if you're producing something and you have 20 people working for you in your crew, and you're coming up with shots willy-nilly on the fly, now you're just wasting time. And then if you got the crazy shot on the shot list and you're running behind on time, you're gonna get rid of it, cut it, and you're gonna move on without it. Because now, in my experience now, I know you guys are still young, but I've been getting a lot of professional gigs lately, and the schedule's tight, they're paying people for 12 hours, and as soon as they go over, they can politely ask everybody for like 30 minutes for grace, which we usually do, and it's independent film, so we're not really jerks, but if they go way over 12 hours, they're gonna have to pay us a day and a half, for sure. So we don't wanna do that, so we're gonna just make the necessary cuts to the shot list as needed to stay on time and still make a movie that makes sense, alright?
I can actually piggyback off of Justin in terms of shot listing, because for this project, that's when we had a rude awakening that we had to have that. We learned that from our first AD in the project, Blake, who is an NYU graduate. She was very on point with the timing. As soon as she came in, she was like, all right, what are the shots? What's the shot list looking? We have this much time for this. We have this many takes we can do with this. So she would always come and annoy me. But she did her job well, because we would always narrow it down to all the best shots and specific shots that we need to get. Because other than that, we'd be shooting for hours, and a lot of our people on set would leave. Because we were shooting till like 8 p.m. to like 9 p.m. and a lot of people don't want to stay in New York because most of them are in Jersey. In the beginning, and during prep for this project, we storyboarded everything. And it was just us, as we were moving through, we had to narrow it down. I had to narrow it down further and further to kind of just tell our crew specifically exactly what vision we want, and also just for the editor as well. So.
All right. Any other questions from the audience here?
Throughout the questions, we just talked a little bit about color, but I thought that the color usage in all of these films was absolutely incredible, and they blended itself to each story really well. And I kind of just want to hear more about your process with using color and using lighting and color grading in the post-production process, because I think it's really interesting how differently each one of you guys used it.
I work with a great colorist named Mary Perino, who I would say did an amazing job on this film. With the original colors we had for this project was red. We knew that red was a huge theme in this film to kind of give off the sort of vibe for one of our biggest characters, the director character, and also the aspect in the dream sequence, which kind of stands for trauma. So the whole red kind of just standed for trauma in this film. And we kind of just spoke that with our colorist, and as also me, as I colored my own projects. I think it just depends on exactly what inspired you to do this project, exactly what kind of vision you had when you first wrote it, and then you just try to replicate that, and that's what we did for this film.
So if we're outside of color grading, like the editing and stuff, just colors in my movie, I think the big thing is, the big thing with the colors is obviously SpongeBob, you think yellow, right? And I wanted there to be a very like close relationship with my character and SpongeBob, which is why my hair is yellow right now. That was very, very intentional. But with the color grading itself, obviously usually pushing the yellow a lot, sometimes even just masking out SpongeBob, because I want you to see a frame from the movie and see, oh, there's SpongeBob right away. You know, I don't want it to blend in with everything else. But also, I think filming, this was really tough to try to figure out like a sweet spot for filming, especially having a Halloween deadline that I gave myself. But I really wanted those leaves to be just beautiful, really nice, not just to make a nice looking movie, but I wanted that last sequence of SpongeBob walking through the nature and everything. I just wanted anyone to be able to watch that and think just like, oh, this is beautiful. Like this is like visually just nice to look at. But not just to look nice, but for the purpose of the movie. You know, like going from this sad deep part to like going out into the nature, like I don't know. I just wanted to have a specific feeling, and I feel like making the colors very bright, very vibrant, kind of benefited what I wanted that part of the story to be.
So, I mean, wasn't trying anything crazy with the color for Ruin. It was just really simply reflecting this kind of fractured, destroyed world. So a lot of dull browns and low saturation and things like that. I don't think there's really much of a deeper meaning there, but you know, it's at least reflecting the world that these characters are in. And in terms of color correcting it, you know, it's the best I could do. Back when I was just like these guys, I did it all myself. I don't do it myself anymore. I have people for that. But that was the best I could do, and I think it came out okay.
I assume everyone else here shot their movies in log, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't. I shot, like I said, on a camcorder. So going into editing, I had a lot less control over the colors. And for those scenes that are in black and white, some of those scenes are actually faux infrared. I color corrected them to look that way, but some of them were shot totally in infrared, so there wasn't any color to correct at all. Or it was just black and white, pretty much. To date, in my own personal projects, color isn't something I think about very much at all. And some directors obviously feel differently. I personally don't feel it's important for my projects. I might feel that way differently in the future. I edit photos, I care more about that when I do my photos, but even then, it's just more to enhance certain things. But the decision to shoot in infrared is, it was partially practical because it was so dark, and partially for my own personal meaning. I think that when we were filming this, because we were working with limited time and limited lighting, I kind of embraced that grainy look of the camcorder, of bumping up the gain, not overlighting the scene. I like the idea of it looking a little crunchy. Not necessarily like lo-fi or analog, but there was something about it not being extremely high fidelity that added to that kind of voyeuristic feel I was explaining earlier, and that haunted feeling. You know, I think it really makes the exposed, like the blown out highlights of the lighting pop that much more when everything else is so grungy. And if no one else has any questions, oh, please go ahead.
So, this is, the film industry. It's not an easy industry. Very competitive. Low chance of success.
What else?
Really rallying the troops.
But for real, like,
Tell us more.
why are you doing this? What made you guys bet on yourselves to do this?
I'm in it for the fame and the fortune, the money and the women, the fast cars,
That's not working out.
Please, I want to hear from you, Justin.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, so, I don't know, it's just been fun. Something I like. I think I am an artist, but I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at other things that, the typical artist term applies to. So this was a good outlet for me. And I think I'm pretty good at it. So nothing to worry about, but, in terms of the fame and fortune, maybe that'll come. I know I'm older than you guys, but I'm not that much older. So I still have things up and coming, which perfectly segues me to, I have a movie on Tubi and YouTube. It's called Marijuana Minutes.
Yeah.
You can watch it. It's a stoner comedy. Feel free to watch it anytime, and I get paid a couple of cents when you watch it. So we officially have made money on it this quarter.
Nice.
Yes, it's there. You can watch it for free. And I have another feature that I just filmed over the summer that will be coming out in 2026.
Yeah.
It's just, I do it because I love it. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't work here full time, kind of sustaining the films that I make. If I was freelancing, I probably wouldn't be making so many passion projects, but since I have the ability to do that in the summer and on weekends, by having a full-time job, which is nice, I can do that. And so the dream is still there, Josh. Sometimes it just takes a little while. And you know what? Even if I make these small-time films and make pennies for the rest of my life, I don't care. It's fine. It's just fun. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you.
Now that the ad break is over. Just like Justin, I'm in it because I love it. I truly love what I do, and every time I land a gig or every time I get an opportunity to work with other people, it makes me feel a way that nothing else really does. And I think I'm an artist too.
Yep.
I think I'm like a multimedia artist,
Did you always feel this way? Have you really been like, oh, I'm always going to do that?
No. There's a lot of artists out there who kind of have the story of I've been drawing since I was 6. I don't think I necessarily felt that way. But there's a thread that I could follow back to when I was very young, for sure. There's something ephemeral about a lot of different arts. I love live music, And one of my favorite things to do with videography is film and document live music. I was just with Devin the other day doing exactly that. I think that we as filmmakers and as videographers are in a very unique position to highlight the talents of other people.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel a little bit of a duty to do that for the other people I care about and the other artists around me. So I think that's a major drive for me, and a major driver for my success going forward is to become, successful enough to uplift other people, to let them make their passion projects, to let them make the next Freak Bob, the sequel to Art of Thespian,
Completely agree.
So.
I don't know if I have as pleasant as an answer to that. My short answer is I feel like if I'm not making movies or making some kind of art, I'll just genuinely go insane. I always feel like when I'm in the middle of a project is when I'm just doing the best, feel like a rock star, even if it's like a small scale thing. That's when I'm doing so great. And then as soon as that project is done, I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? So I'm at the point where I'm like, I need to have the next project lined up or be going in between projects, you know? So I don't know, that's kind of my answer. And if I can find success from it, as objective as that is, that's great. But honestly, for me, at this point right now, I'm just doing it because I'll be like, I'll go crazy if I don't do that.
Good point.
I've been doing film for a couple years now. I've made over 5 short films.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it drives me insane sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. But the thing is though, like Dana says, I do really, really love it. And it's just, I love the aspect of being on set. Like, I had a moment in here when I was directing with Nolan, where we both had the same dream, that we were both running around like on set and our heart was just pumping.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I just loved the aspect of just like having fun with people on the crew, because it's literally like sometimes it is professional, but it's also like hanging out with your friends.
When you do it long, they feel like a family. Really
Exactly. So I just love the whole planning process. I just love like working with cameras, and I also, before I met Nolan, I wanted to meet somebody that thought of film in a more athletic sense. Kind of because I wanted to make a feature film and I really want this to achieve this level of success when I was a kid. So when I met Nolan, we pushed each other. I think we stayed up nights. There was a point where we stayed up 2 nights in a row just working on call sheets and shot lists on this film. And I'm not gonna lie, at that point I knew, I was like, I know what it feels like to be Michael Jordan.
You need help, buddy.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
It's not
bring people in
sustainable.
eventually, my friend. That's what
I
I tell.
will. But it's that moment, just sharing that experience with somebody or just working on film, just showed me like how much I love this platform.
Yeah.
And right now I got a new short film that I made called Grapevine.
Yeah. Woo.
No,
I worked on that.
Josh was there, yeah. It was a fun experience. I actually got to act in it with my buddy. So
You guys killed it.
I appreciate that. That's doing the festival circuit right now. We just submitted into Tribeca. That's been the goal for that movie. And next we are tackling probably in Justin's shoes. I'm gonna be doing a feature film.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
I just have one last question.
Yeah.
Do you guys think these films are indicative of your bodies of work, or do you think that they're independent of the rest of your work?
Yeah, mine totally screams kind of my vision, usually. And so the things I've been working on lately are kind of the opposite, because I haven't been writing those. My friend is the writer-director, and I've been producing them and production design for him. But, I typically write things with minimal dialogue and things like that and a lot of visuals. So yeah, that is totally an embodiment of films I would make and write, for sure.
I love this movie so much. Yes, this is this is the movie I want to make. These are my movies. Yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. Yeah.
I don't know, this was different than any other kind of projects I did. My big project before this one, as I kind of mentioned before, in 2023 I had a feature film, but the feature film did not look anything like this. It was like a found footage kind of thing. So I was so focused on story and characters for that other movie, where I kind of wanted to focus the other side of filmmaking for this short, that being the cinematography and the colors and the sound. And I don't know, I still feel like I'm kind of figuring out where exactly what I want to go, but I feel like anything I want to make, I feel like my personality is going to be kind of shown through it. I feel like I can't help but make things a little bit goofy, especially on the internet. Like, I don't know, I honestly never really dabbled too much in film festivals. I was always interested in the internet side of things. So I don't know, I just want to experiment with making short films and things like that with like Freak Bob. Like, some people might just be on the internet and might have known that meme or something, so they have a reason to check it out. And I think for 2026 I want to experiment with that a little bit. But then I also do have another found footage feature film planned for 2026 too. So I don't know, kind of bouncing around a little bit, figuring out exactly what I like. But it was kind of a great, like, it forced me to learn some things about filmmaking that I wasn't so familiar with before.
This film, I would say, it is independent compared to the work I kind of want to make. My current film, Grapevine, is more in the stature of kind of films that I aspire to make. You know, well, this was kind of more run in the gun, kind of like, let's just make a movie and let's create a whole crew and just figure it out as we go. That's pretty much what it was, and I'm extremely proud of what we were able to accomplish at that time.
I have one more question for you.
I also have a question.
Okay. Justin, who was making that monster noise in the supermarket?
Yeah, you know, some lines are blurred here. The movie was not perfect, and there's things every time I watch it that I don't like about it. So I gorilla'd, right? And so I couldn't get access to that supermarket.
Right.
But I originally wanted the monsters to be seen when he was outside through a dark open door. And you'd see like their claws like coming out. So the idea is that they're scaring people away so they can keep the food for themselves.
I thought
the mother
that's
and
what was
child. Yeah, and so they were trying to do it when he was there. And I didn't realize he had a gun or something, so he accidentally shoots the kid. So,
I always thought it was like his own fear getting to him, and that was like the representation of it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Yes, of course.
I want to ask my question, because I've been wondering this about all three of your movies, because all three of your movies deal with topics that I would consider heavy or otherwise difficult to approach because of their, I guess, just their complexity. With yours, you have like a homeless character, right? So you have to approach that with a degree of caution and like with some real forethought to make sure that you're portraying that character properly. You know, to not make like a joke out of homelessness.
Yeah.
And yours, you're like dealing with trauma. Yours, you're dealing with the loss of a loved one. How do all three of you ensure going into the writing process that you're doing what you're doing tactfully and tastefully?
Well, I'll tell you this, I didn't think about that at all. I was just obsessed with the idea that I was making something with an unhappy ending. That's what I wanted to do. I was young. You know, I like happy endings now in my older age. But yeah, I just wanted to make something really, really dark. And I wanted it to end really, really dark. Just because I wanted to. And that was really, I didn't really think about, you know, the subject matter. I just thought it would be dark. And maybe I should put like a warning at the beginning of the film or something. It's pretty bleak nowadays when I watch it. So, but that's it, yeah.
Did you ever have a moment when you were writing about the dead wife character or the dead girlfriend that like you might be using her more like a prop than a character? Like, did something like that ever cross your mind?
No, but I could see that coming across my mind now as I've gotten older and more mature, for sure. But yeah, I mean, she's really there as a plot device.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that question. I do have kind of an artsy answer to it though. When I was writing the movie, I definitely wasn't having a character that's homeless. I was never homeless before, admittedly. So it's like, oh, what do I know about being homeless and the struggles that someone else like that might have? But the reason I made the movie wasn't to tell the story of a homeless person. It was to tell a story of like my own personal experiences and, like I said, all the artsy stuff, like a lot of mental health stuff that I went through. As goofy as a movie as it is, and I think the beautiful thing with movies is you can visually show something, but then the subtext can be something completely else. So I think I wasn't so focused on telling a story about the dangers of being homeless and to raise awareness. You know, I'm sure that could also be another great movie. I was just focused on my own personal experiences and using these characters and these locations in SpongeBob to kind of tell a story, a completely different story than what we watched on screen. So.
I think we were very, when we first wrote the script, it was very thought out and specifically how we wanted to kind of show the trauma in the movie. There is a shot where you see like the hand kind of place the beer glass, and it kind of just like cages the child in that scene. And I think that like captures the movie, where it's kind of like the director is using kind of like how you actually have to do, like actors have to do, is to kind of approach a scene emotionally by kind of digging through your own trauma. And in this film, the director kind of takes advantage of that and kind of takes advantage of this character's trauma of what he went through with his parents. You know, and that's why you see the glass bottle used 3 times in this film, which is like the first time in the opening, the second time when you see like the bottle being placed there, and the last part where it's kind of broken and used just like his father used in the film. So it's very en route of what we wanted, and it's very touchy, but we knew exactly how we wanted to approach it, and we wanted to approach it in a very emotional way to kind of hopefully educate people or kind of just give them a feeling of like the sense of what it kind of feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, you have something?
Actually, I just want to
One more.
Yeah.
We're
Last
calling out this
one.
one, fellas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so unless anybody else has any final questions, I will ask my final question, that we will wrap this up. So all of you making these short films, either some of you have made them years ago or more recently, so I just kind of wanted to like ask you, is that how do you feel this has helped your growth in your filmmaking journey, or just what have you fully learned that changed you as a filmmaker from making this project, good or bad?
Well, this film was a turning point for me. To say I think it still holds up 13 years later means that it was a step in the right direction. Everything I've made since then has had the same attention to detail and, standard, I guess. And I look at the things I made before and I shake my head and like, this stuff is trash. So yeah, I mean, it was a necessary step for me for where I am now, for sure.
Yeah, I think it taught me to trust my writing process, because the film I made after this, Birdwatcher, was made similarly, and it worked out really well also. I like the way I write scripts, I like the way I do my own shot lists. It also taught me through the editing over these past few months, sometimes you have to kill your babies, I'm sure you've heard that. I made some really tough decisions in editing. I almost changed the ending very dramatically for this movie in post. And it really had me just think harder about making a major change to a story that I felt like so dear to for a while. I don't think I've had that experience before, because I always had the confidence going into it. So, I mean, you learn something from every set, every film you do. So that's what I learned from that.
I feel like I already kind of mentioned technically this this film definitely helped me become a better filmmaker, but I feel like I already talked about that. I think it was very different compared to the feature film I did in 2023. That's the story in that movie. It's kind of you watch it, you understand what's happening. There's not a lot of room for like analyzing, I guess. Whereas this movie was definitely kind of like, you can have your own interpretation, you can have theories and stuff. So I think it's important with each film you make, you should kind of push yourself to kind of maybe be, instead of trying to please, instead of like having your parents watch it, they understand and everything is good, try to push yourself a little bit to maybe make something that's more personal or a little bit more shocking. I think that's definitely something I tried to do with this, where I released it and I'm like, are people gonna know what this is actually about? Or are people just gonna be like, oh, there's SpongeBob, that's hilarious. I think something that was kind of very validating is I put it on YouTube and I've been doing little Instagram reels and TikToks about the movie. So people I do not know at all are watching the movie and reviewing on Letterboxd and stuff. And just seeing that the work I put into making like a deeper movie paid off a lot, because seeing everyone's reactions to it, or the different theories, or what their interpretation of it is, it's been very rewarding, and that's something I want to do with a lot of my future work.
This movie is a huge turning point for me, because it's the first time I had to lead like an actual set rather than just make stuff in my house. So I think it made me want to become a better director, and mostly because I wanted to become a better leader. You know, I wanted to figure out a way how to communicate my vision to a lot of the crew that's working there, and also just kind of be very strict and know exactly what I want. Because it's like sometimes I'm a creative individual, so I like to kind of figure stuff out on the go. This right here, it was very hard to do. It was very hard to figure stuff out because we had a short time span to do it. And I just had to let people know exactly what I wanted on these takes or what was going on here. So we had different moments going on, like on different times we had to shoot different scenes. Because sometimes I was like, all right, I have to learn to communicate these shots better, because we could have gotten better coverage on this, you know. And also, it connected me with the crew that I actually use today for my current film. A lot of these people are very intelligent people and very hardworking people, and it's like, it showed me like there's other creators out there that are willing to help you with your script, only because it's like, it's good. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that helped us on the movie for free, and they could have asked us for money. So it just told me that in the end of the day, if you have a fire script, you can get it made.
Yeah.
So
that's my favorite part about filmmaking, is that it's never about any one person. It's like an orchestra.
Build your networks, guys. Build your network.
Yeah.
That's advice for you guys up here.
I'm gonna tell you firsthand, when I was working on the current short film, it was crazy what if you pick the right people, what they can achieve. Like if you get a really cool cinematographer that like fits your movie and everything, your movie's gonna look gorgeous. If you get like a set designer that just knows what she's doing, she will like.
Well, make sure she.
Well, my set designer wasn't she.
Yeah,
It could be
good
right?
set designer.
Justin, exactly. But I'm
just messing with you, bro.
I'm just saying, like, it really depends on the people you pick for your sets.
Yeah.
They're gonna make or break this movie.
Yeah.
Well, I guess after that terrific responses from like all of you, I guess that is the end of the Alumni Filmmaker Expo. Thanks again, President Josh. We're so honored to have all four of you here to showcase amazing short films, and just having all of you here talking. We're just completely honored that you all took time out of your day to showcase these with us. Yep.
Thanks
to everybody who came, by the way.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Before you all go, there is, sorry.
Check under your seats.
We bought a lot of snacks. Take drinks, take whatever you want home, take multiple things home. from that corner.
It is.
Go ahead, Jane. Sorry.
The cookies will not last that long. Please eat them.
Thank you for Film Club. Thank you, my friends, for coming and watching this. Thank you, Ben, for helping me make this movie. Thank you, Dan, for doing the soundtrack. Thank you, Dylan, for being an amazing actor who's not here. Thank you, Tim, my boyfriend, for being the voice on the phone. And thank you, my friend Kai, for being the character of the gentleman.
You rehearsed that? That was like an Oscar.
Thank you so much.